On today's episode of First Rodeo Radio, we welcome on jockey Edgard Zayas. Edgar dominated Gulfstream for many years, winning top jockey titles. He's got over 2,700 wins, over $88 million in purse earnings to his name already. Edgard recently made the decision to move his home from Florida to New York, and is currently riding the Naira circuit and beginning to catch his stride. We hope you enjoy this conversation with Edgard Zayas.
First Rodeo Radio, where the race begins. The homies have reached the starting gate, and they're off.
So how does it feel to have a record that will never be broken?
It feels amazing. I can't even believe it. Even after when I came back, I saw the time. I was like, wait, what? Like 106. I'm like, well, I asked Amelia, I'm like, that has to be like close to the track record, right? And she's like, yeah, she broke track record. I'm like, oh, jeez. Couldn't believe it. Especially it's going to be a track record that's going to be, forever because no one else is going to run an aqueduct. And it was, it was kind of nice to have some part of history now that I just pretty much got into aqueduct. So, pretty cool to win the last stake race there and win a track record. An amazing way to do it.
Yep. Highway Harmony 106, going 3/4 on the grass, flying the last stakes race at the Big A. Take me through kind of the atmosphere on Sunday. It looked electric on TV.
I know it was amazing. There's been a lot of like big days around, but like it was a different big day because it was like the fans were like into it from the first to the last race, cheering all the horses coming into the paddock, cheering all the jockeys walking into the jockey room, cheering all the horses walking out of the track. It was incredible. It was something different. It was really a different experience, because a lot of times you see the big races, people are cheering, cheering for their bets or cheering for the race, but nothing like cheering, every single part of it. Like the horses walking in, the horses going out. It was an amazing. I feel like Kentucky Derby race. They're cheering like from the paddock all the way to the race every single race at Aqueduct. It was an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I saw like the last race too. It was like a starter. They hung like 100K purse on, and you could tell the horses that were loading up because they loaded them right in front of the fans. It was cool. They did that, but you could tell the horses at that level were not used to big crowds.
Yeah, no, they were getting all nervous and all that. It was kind of cool. I saw the videos. At that point, I was out already because I was driving to Saratoga right after races. But I saw all the jockeys from the last race. They just got into with the fans and they took some pictures over there, and it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool that.
Yeah. I think it's like that's definitely a once in a lifetime experience. I think it's super cool. You hold the track record forever at Aqueduct on the very last day there, last stakes race. So super duper cool there. But let's
Yeah,
let's take it
absolutely.
all the way back to the beginning in terms of like how you kind of started your journey to becoming a jockey. Take us through early days down there in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, it's in Puerto Rico. Actually, I live like literally walking distance from the racetrack. I was raised around the racetrack, but I wasn't into like racetrack family. My dad was a barber and my mom, they own like a barber shop. So like other stories with other jockeys that they're normally, jockeys, their parents are jockeys or trainers or something inside the racetrack. It's a little different with me. The only close thing that I had to the racetrack is that I lived super close to a racetrack, and my dad used to cut a lot of people's hair from the racetrack, so we knew a lot of jockeys and trainers and all that. And I always used to go to a racetrack on Saturdays or Sundays with my grandpa. He likes to like go and bet a little bit on the races, and I always thought it was really cool. I always liked it. And as a kid, every kid that you take to the racetrack, they get out of the racetrack and they just say, "I want to be a jockey." It's like I think it's really cool. It's a really cool job, and I always had that in me. Like every time I come out of the racetracks on the weekends with my grandpa, I'm like, I want to be a jockey. I'll go back into the house and I'll be riding like the sofa and everything. Like thinking I'm a jockey already. And I grew up, and I feel like I kind of like stepped away out of it, a little bit until I got into sports. I used to play basketball and track and field and all that. And it got to the point that when I was like 14, 15 years old, I really got back into like wanting to be a jockey, you know. When it was time to like figure out what I want to do in my life, if I want to go to college or study or what I'm gonna do with my future, that's when really being a jockey really got into serious consideration. And nothing, I decided to, join the jockey school. And like I told you, my dad was a barber. He used to cut the vice president of the racetrack's hair. So he kind of like hooked me up to get into the school because it's not easy to get into jockey school. It's like over 100 kids sign in to get into the jockey school, and only 14 kids are selected. So you really have to have some kind of person that helps you get into that selected list, you know? So thankfully, we knew some people in there and got into horse racing and did a year and a half of jockey school and decided to just go on to Calder, and there it all started at Calder. Another racetrack that closed too.
Yeah, unfortunately. What is jockey school like? Like, what's like, do you remember like what day one was like?
Yes, I can remember. Well, the first year of jockey school in Puerto Rico, I think it's like going back to it again. Puerto Rico might have one of the best jockey schools in the world. I could tell you that. It's amazing, especially I can say it from my experience because when I got into the jockey school, I had literally no experience into horse racing or no experience into horses. It's not like I was, you know, raised around horses. So it really teach me everything from the bottom, every single part of it of horse racing, which was kind of cool. Uh, and I don't think, a lot of schools do that. Like the first day of jockey school in Puerto Rico, they have like a barn of 12 horses and they assign two jockeys to each horse. So we got to start as grooms. They make us be grooms, hot walkers. So they teach us everything about it, before we even get on a horse. So the first 2 months of the jockey school, you don't even touch a horse, like on top. You're grooming a horse, you're walking a horse, you're doing all kind of work, but you never get to get on a horse yet. Like after a month and a half is when you start, getting on a horse little by little and on the round pen, and then you start going around the round pen, and from there you spend a couple months in there. Then you go onto the main track and you start galloping, but you start galloping just horses from the jockey school. So that first year is only with the horses from the jockey school that are pretty much like super good. They're not tough, they're easy to learn on. So then the second year, you get to gallop for everyone around. So you go into the main track in the morning. You get to the track around I think 5:30 in the morning, and you start galloping for everyone, like whoever needs you, from 5:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, which usually will get in 12, 13 horses in the morning, just galloping. And then it just goes back into the school, into the building, and then you go into like history of horse racing. You got PE will be like the gym classes, so we'll go to the gym, and you have an English class, and that was it. And it's like 2:30. It was like a whole day of school. It was like a
Yeah.
whole day of school. I think that's what makes Puerto Rico's jockey school so good. I think it's just how detailed and they are into everything, and they really pay attention to every detail on the jockeys to get better and better.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit longer than a normal day of school. I think if you try to start, American school at 5:30 in the morning, I think kids would throw a fit. But I guess it's probably similar to like
Yeah,
friends that like were on the swim team. They would swim early in the morning and then go to class. So I didn't realize how
yeah.
much
Mhm.
I didn't realize you had like normal quote unquote like classroom classes as well. It's super interesting.
Yeah. So, well, but the thing is, like, when we were galloping at that point, at that time, we were so excited to gallop for everyone, and we're like so pumped to like be working horses for everyone. So we didn't count that as like starting school. We counted like school like after 9:30. We finished galloping and we finished working horses in the morning. And they were like, all right, now we gotta go. It's like it was more like a work at that point, but we're galloping for everyone just for free. So,
Yeah.
they use a lot the bug boys there from the school a lot because they're really people that don't want to pay the exercise riders. They got the jockeys that are trying to learn free as an exercise rider as part of the school.
Very cool. And then I guess like you kind of work your way up from galloping until to breezing and then race riding.
Yes, and then through that second year, they do. I think if I remember, I think there's like 6 morning races, and then they do 6 afternoon races. So they'll do kind of like mock races. So the trainers that need like some horses to work out of the gate, they'll get the bug boys from the school, the jockeys from the school, let them ride the horses, and they'll do 2 races every month and a half, I think. So they'll do like 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. And then, after each of those mock races, we got to go back into school and pretty much study. And, teachers will see you ride and say, hey, you need to do this, you did this wrong, and, correct things. And it's really cool. It's a good process. One day you go when we go, one day we got to go to Puerto Rico one day and go to jockey school so I can show you around.
That'd be sweet. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
So I guess like is it similar to like other like sports where like high school football where we'd go and watch film after the game? Are you kind of going from those mock races to like watching film of the mock races?
Exactly. That's what we do. We go back and we watch films, and then we see what we did wrong and what happened in the race. Yeah.
Deal. And then take me through. So you kind of have the mock races, and then do you eventually start riding races at the Puerto Rican tracks, or how do you kind of graduate from jockey school?
So normally, we finished after those 2 years, and first day of January, you start as an official bug boy, and you get to all the students. They officially graduate and they start riding. But that year that I was in the jockey school, it was a little different because a lot of the trainers and owners were complaining that all the bug boys were graduating, and they'll spend like, let's say, less than a month over there, and then the good ones would just go. They'll go to the United States, and they were kind of complaining, like we need some bug boys here and all that. So the school was trying to come up with some stupid ruling that if you graduated, you needed to spend 2 months in Puerto Rico before you get to the United States. So I wasn't sure if that was gonna work or not. So 2 months 2 months before I graduated, I just decided to leave the jockey school and I went straight into Calder. So I didn't do like I missed like 2 months before that.
Wow. And then take me through like your first few races and your first win at Calder. Kind of what's going through your brain when like you first kind of get into the U.S. and get into American racing.
It was a definitely different experience. Especially I was 19 years old, like no family here in the United States, came here all by myself, and starting at that point I was living in West Palm Beach, so I had to drive every morning like around I had to leave probably at 4 in the morning to get here around 5:30 and start working at Calder every morning. It was a lot of work, and it was different. It was definitely a different experience, and but thankfully we started really good. I can't complain. From the first day that I got here to United States, I started doing really good. And once I had the agent that brought me from Puerto Rico, he had me here for like the first 2 months, and after that I switched into the agent that I have right now, and that's when things really took me to the next level.
It's awesome. Yeah, take me through like, is it similar to you hear stories of, you know, like LeBron when he just got drafted out of high school and the ages that kind of came to him, and take me through kind of were there a lot of people like trying to like recruit you as a jockey as an agent when you were in school, or how did that kind of process play out?
When I was in school, I was I wasn't like one of like their favorites. I wasn't like one of their favorites in the jockey school. So I wasn't like number one prospect. I was like a late round pick. So it was I had a one offer to come here to Calder, and I took it. I took that one offer because I thought, I always thought that that one offer can open other doors over here. And all I wanted to do is just get out of Puerto Rico and just come here to the United States and start it over here, and become a jockey over here. And I took that first agent. He didn't look into much information of him. He didn't have much business here. He didn't know much English. It was a mess. It was a mess, but we made it work. I think I won like 7 races with him. And but like I told you, then people get to see you, and they can see that if you have talent, no, and then other people, then it gets caught some other people's eyes, and that's how I got my new agent, and now we're doing really good.
You're like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was like a six round pick, so you kind of
Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't one of the favorites in my classroom. It was kind of cool because I think it has to be one of the first times ever that we were the three top eclipse for the Bug Boys. We were all from the same classroom. So we
holy
were all in the same, we all did the 2 years. Well, I did a year and a half, but we all did the 2 years together. Which it was, the top three was Victor Carrasco that won the eclipse that year. It was me and it was Manny Franco. We all were in the same classroom. It was pretty cool. The three of us finished top three Bug Boys that year.
that's some great marketing for the jockey school. Holy crap!
Yeah, no, it was insane. It was really cool. I think since that classroom, I don't think they had like a classroom that had like so many talent in the classroom. Because yeah, there's always jockeys always come really good from Puerto Rico, Irad or Jose, but they always have like that one guy that does really good, and then a lot of them just do all right. But I feel like our classroom was one of the only classrooms that all the jockeys have done really good and wherever they've been. Javian Toledo came from my classroom too. He's leading rider in Maryland. Victor Carrasco was in Maryland leading rider for a while too. Jorge Vargas, he rides Parks and Monmouth, very good rider. Manny Franco and me, we all came from the same classroom. It's really hard to get a classroom like that.
It's pretty legendary. It's like the Alabama football room. They had like Tua and Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts all in the same QB room. That was like the jockey school at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's how that year was. Kind of, that was definitely how that year was. And I went straight to Calder, and right off the bat, I think like the first week, I got my first win, which it was really exciting. It was actually for Rajiv Maharaj dad. His name's Colin Mirage, and I saw him one time. I had movies, and he was in the stores that day, and he saw me in the movies, and he's like, "Who's that rider?" He's like, "Oh, it's a bug boy. Just came from Puerto Rico," and he liked how I looked in the film. He's like, "I'm gonna get your first winner," and like next week after that, he put me on a horse, and we won, and it's that first win is always a win that you're always gonna remember.
100%. Yeah, there's nothing like the first one. There's a lot of anxiety until you get the first one. Then once you get it off your back, I feel like it's smooth
Yeah,
sailing
it's
from
good.
there.
Absolutely, yeah, no, for sure,
But all
absolutely.
right. So you got the first one at Calder, and then at what point? Like, I honestly am not too well versed in the history of Florida racing in terms of when Calder closed. Did they kind of go back and forth between Calder and Gulfstream for a while?
So when I got here, it was like at the end of 2012, and at that point they were running Gulfstream only the championship meet. So Gulfstream will be only from December to April. After there, we'll go to Calder for the rest of the year.
Then
And it ran like that probably for until I don't know exactly the day, but probably like 2015 or 16. They
got it.
just run half and half.
And then like at what point? So you got your first win, which I'm sure coming to the U.S. not knowing anybody, that must have been a crazy leap of faith. It must have been some pretty wild times at a very young age too. When you were 19, I guess you obviously then became like the leading rider at Gulfstream, kind of took over. Was there a moment, was there a year where you kind of felt like, okay, like I'm him, like I'm that guy now? Like, did you have like I made it moment?
I don't think is I have that moment yet because I feel like yeah I've won a lot of leading riders in Florida and all that, but I feel that I made it moment will be when I get going. Hopefully, winning some great ones up here in New York, and that's what really, that's what I feel like really is about horse racing, not about winning leading rider in Florida. Like at the end of the day, who cares about that? At the end of the day, you just want to be written in the books of history with some grade one wins, Breeders' Cups, hopefully derbies and stuff like that. That's really what you're pointing for. And, definitely we did really good and we created a really good business, me and my agent. When we started, him and I pretty much started like in, I think it was like February of 2013, and from then we've done really really good between Calder and Gulfstream, really really good.
Yeah, I think that's probably the mentality that it takes to win is like just kind of not being satisfied with, the success you've already had. So obviously you kind of led into it there. I guess take us kind of behind the scenes about the decision to move your attack from Florida to New York here.
Well, it's just it's a lot different, a lot of things in between. I really want to, like I was telling you, try to make it, and this is the place to make it. Horse racing looks like the future is going to be between Kentucky and New York. New Belmont opening, Saratoga, and looking for, just looking for good horses, looking for hopefully big wins, big races, and trying to get into those big barns and be part of those big days. Be part of like Belmonts and Derbies and Triple Crown races, and hopefully, get mounts in the Breeders' Cups. Because if you're not participating in them, you have no shot of winning them. So, uh, it was kind of difficult for me to do it from Florida because once the championship meet ends, it feels like you're all the way down south in an island there. Like when you're up here, I feel you're all in the mix. Like every racetrack is like driving distance. You could go from Belmont, you could go to Parks for big races. You could go to Delaware for big races. You go to Monmouth for Haskell Week. It's like everything's around. You're part of that whole business, and the New York business chips to those racetracks for those big days, and that's really what I'm looking into. Trying to get into some good barns and good horses, and trying to be part of the big races and hopefully win some and be part of history.
For
Definitely.
sure. I guess what do you foresee as like the biggest challenges as you step into New York? Obviously, you have some early success now with the stakes winner, stakes record, track record. But what do you see as challenges as the Saratoga meet's about to open up?
Definitely the Saratoga meet is gonna be, we all know it's gonna be tough. It's the best of the best in there. Best of the best horses, best of the best riders. And definitely the biggest challenge is breaking through, it's through this New York business. Cause it's like it's like when you go, it's like when people came into Florida, it feels like it's let's say it's like our fort, we're kind of like protecting it from people getting into it. We're not gonna let anyone get into our business. You're not gonna let everyone get into our home and taking off your business. So I feel it's the same way when you go into another place. It's like you go into there and all them agents and all them jockeys are not gonna let you just walk into their barns and taking off their mounts. So it's definitely, you got to break through that ice and you gotta win, and you gotta show you can win, because at the end of the day it's not about how you look and how you ride. At the end of the day, everyone wants to see someone winning. It doesn't matter anything else. Winning in the business is really what matters. And yeah, just break through and try to get into big barns. That's really the main focus.
Yep, winning cures all problems for sure. And I guess
Absolutely, yeah.
take
It's like when
take
you
us.
go into a race and they'll give you instructions of, hey, I want you to bring this horse from off the pace. And all of a sudden you're on the lead, but you win the race. They forget about, they forgot, they told you to, they don't want you to see you on the lead or anything like that. But if you go to the lead and you lose, then they'll be like, what are you doing on the lead? I told you not to. So it's all about winning at the end of the day.
For sure. And I'm sure like there's probably like trust building that has to happen between all the different trainers. You kind of mentioned the barns. So for those listening that like might not be super duper familiar with like how jockey agent trainer relationships goes, owner relationships goes, it's at least the way we run it is it's more of like, hey, we let the trainer lead, like, hey, fit the horse to the jock that you prefer. And a lot of times it just kind of comes down to the trainer's relationship with the jock or with the agent, and then eventually kind of trust builds up, and
Exactly.
obviously success builds on it. So I guess, do you have a game plan kind of going in, like, hey, like you go out to the mornings to these barns to check in with these trainers and offer to like work horses, or kind of take me through how the process works, kind of get your name out there, getting those initial mounts?
Yeah, I've been working literally every single day. Here working in Saratoga every single day and going through every single barn and talking to every single trainer. Because at the end of the day, I wanna have the whole business. I want to ride for everyone. I don't want to just ride for one person. I want to have the options to ride multiple horses, whatever I can. Definitely that's the goal. So I try to I try to walk and talk to all trainers and try to make that connection and trying to get that opportunity to ride for them. And when I do get the opportunity, try to make the best out of it and hopefully get the win.
For sure. And I guess like the overall, how do you feel the first few weeks have gone? I guess I'm assuming it was a conscious decision to come up before the Saratoga meet to try to establish some business before that meet started.
So yeah, the decision was just to come straight to Aqueduct instead of going to Keeneland with everyone, all the Ortiz brothers and Pratt and Johnny and everyone. Instead of them doing, just come straight into Aqueduct and try to build some New York business, build some New York business and people that I haven't ridden for, and try to hopefully get going into there and let them know me and carry it into the Saratoga meet, and hopefully we get some wins over here, which is the main goal. And I think at the beginning it started pretty slow. I think it started pretty slow, and it was, some weeks were good, some weeks were bad. I got a couple of wins like up here and a couple of wins there, but I think towards the end of the meet I started getting more live mounts, better mounts, and we started winning like almost every day. We couple of days we had multiple wins, and definitely ended in definitely a great note with a stake wins on the last day. So definitely, hopefully it builds up some momentum into this meet, even, and I have some live mounts this week, and hopefully we can make the best out of it and start good at Saratoga.
For sure. I think it's a huge leap of faith, and I think you're starting to kind of see it work out now, which has got to be super relieving. I'm sure it's stressful the first few mounts for a new barn. I'm sure those are super stressful times, and you probably try to get out of your head a little bit. Just talk me through kind of mindset wise, like going into a race. I feel like there's a lot of often hear now athletes kind of getting into their zone. There's the whole like JJ McCarthy sitting by the goalpost, kind of getting roasted for the way he prepares. But take me through the mindset of you're kind of walking into the paddock for the first time for a new barn, kind of what's going through your head as you're kind of meeting the connections, and then once you get in the horse.
uh Definitely go out of there, trying to win, and we're all going there trying to win, but have to go there with a great game plan, reading the race really good, see what I'm gonna do, trying to. And right now I'm at a point down here in Saratoga that whenever, sometimes I go in with a plan and I get different instructions in the paddock, and I'm not in a position right now to do whatever I want. So I gotta, that's another mindset. Just try to follow the instructions and, ride hard, try to get best out of the horse. And that's really what's going on right now.
For sure. And then I guess you kind of got a sneak peek of this Saratoga's track layout. I mean, like you've ridden there before, but take me through the differences in track layout between Aqueduct, which I think is like a longer circumference track, versus the tighter turn Saratoga.
It's a way different track, definitely. The Aqueduct track is, I feel it's like a more fair track too. It's not so speedy track like Saratoga, and definitely is a really long stretch, or was a really long stretch, not anymore. And same with the turf, is a really fair turf with a really long stretch. In difference to Saratoga, it's a lot of speed. It's a really fast track on the dirt and a really fast track on the turf, and definitely just a little bit shorter of a stretch than Aqueduct. So you just got to be a little more aggressive, definitely. I think you got to be a little more aggressive and try to be close to the pace and not give your horse too much to do here at Saratoga, because I think the track will carry you at the end.
For sure. I think that's probably similar to Gulfstream, right? I feel like Gulfstream plays the speed too.
Yes, Gulfstream plays the speed too, and I that's what I really get it. I think it's really similar to Gulfstream, and hopefully it stays like that. Tracks can change a lot, and a lot of times this track has been dead. Has been really dead. That horses are really can't finish in the lead and all that. But let's see how it comes up, because for that Belmont Stake weeks, it was speed and rail. That's it. It was really fast track. So if it's like that, it's starting. We know it's gonna be a really speedy meet.
Yeah. So I guess like how like is that something that's discussed in the jock room? Like race one is a dirt race two is a turf race, and then race three is a dirt race. If you don't ride the first race, like can you go to like Manny, who like you were in school with, be like, hey, like how is the track playing? Like I'm sure you probably feel if it's a deeper rail or a golden rail. Like is that something that you guys discuss together, or is that like you're kind of trying to hide what you're really thinking in the room?
Yeah, we really don't discuss it, but if you don't ride the races, at least you can watch the races on the replay, and you could definitely see how it's playing. That determining on the times and determining who won the race. If the horse that won the race was on the lead wire to wire, and he probably wasn't, you say, oh wow, that horse wasn't even the best horse in the race, and just wired this field. Either something's going, or the track is too fast, and I think you can't determine a track yet after one race. It probably needs a couple of races to really see, like, all right, horses are winning from off the pace, or horse was winning on the lead. Unless you can determine how fast it is by seeing the times. That the times are really fast. You're like, wow, that's that, like that Aqueduct last race. You can know the turf track that day was extremely fast. So on the times, you kind of know how fast or deep is the track, and then you see the bias of rails and all that. Who if you got to be on the rail, you got to be outside through the day, seeing how the horses have been running.
Yeah, I guess how much does the surface change throughout a day too? Because I presume, especially if it might have been like a wet morning and then it kind of dries throughout the day, like will that track kind of favorability shift drastically race to race, or does it usually kind of hold like for about like an hour or two, or like how much changes kind of race to race?
Oh, if there's water, it definitely changes drastically. If there's no water through the day, then yeah. But if there's water, it definitely changes drastically. Because there's some horses that will hate the water, and there's some horses that will love the water, and there's some horses that will hate the seal track, and there's some horses that will love the seal track. So it definitely could change the race. It's the same thing. It'll happen at the turf, because if it rains, there's horses that will not like a soft turf, and there's horses that are speed horses, and definitely a dry turf is definitely better for them. So it changes a lot in the race.
Are you able to tell pretty quickly, like as the horse is warming up, whether it's going to be a good day or a bad day for him?
What do you mean? Like,
So
I
like
can
say like
determine.
so like say like you're warming up a horse that you've ridden before, maybe you've ridden it and you've won on it before, and 3 weeks later, I just say like Highway Harmony, you're warming that horse up, at Saratoga in like a stakes, in 4 or 5 weeks, and maybe it had rained the day before and things haven't dried completely out. Like, will you be able to tell fairly quickly based on the warm up how the horse is responding to that surface, or do you not really know until it's time to really start asking?
You really don't know until it's time to start asking, but you kind of like figure things out. If you have a really fast horse and the turf is soft, you're in a little disadvantage there, because the horse is gonna get tired. It's gonna get tired, and the track at the end won't carry them. Because the problem with that is that the horses that are really fast and are on a really soft turf, they're gonna go really fast at the beginning, and then at the end, like it's deeper. When they're getting tired, the track's not gonna help her. But when they're on a firm track, they could go really fast at the beginning, and then when they're getting tired at the end, it's not as deep, so they can actually it holds on a little bit better. So that's the only difference. And other than that, you can't determine anything to just getting on a horse until they break out of the gate and you figure out like, oh, he's not traveling the same. He's not taking me. That's when you break out of the gate, you can actually feel like, all right, he's liking it or he's not liking it.
That makes sense. And then how much does that change with Tapeta? I mean, you kind of have a nice advantage here of I'm assuming you rode a lot of races on the synthetic down at Gulfstream, and now you'll have that at when New Belmont opens too. How does Tapeta play similarly, or how does that surface respond to precipitation?
But the pita's it's a weird surface because it's a surface that really doesn't have like a turn of foot like the turf, you know? And the turf you could go like you could just sit on a pocket and all of a sudden you just go to the outside and horses just completely take off. On the pita, it's you're not gonna do that. It's the pita is more of a grinding, you know. Horses just keep grinding and coming. It's not like they're not gonna like give you that burst like they'll do on the turf. So it's more about having the horse not too far out because again they're not going to finish that strong, and having the horse probably not too close unless you're on a really slow pace because the horses are going to get tired, you know. So I feel it's more a grinding rate, it's more of a grinding track.
And does the Tapeta play similarly to the dirt in terms of, okay, if it rains a lot, it's going to favor X versus Y, or does the
Not
Tapeta?
really.
Oh,
Not really. So that's why it's made for, you know, for when it rains, it's supposed to stay pretty much dry and it really doesn't change much. It might get when it rains a lot and then the sun comes out and it dries it out, it actually gets a little faster for the speed horses. It's actually good for speed horses to be on the leader close. But when it's just it doesn't change that much of deep or anything like that. It's just the Tapeta is supposed to that's why it's all weather track. It's just supposed to stay pretty much the same all the time.
that's cool. And it's interesting. I mean, like we're kind of seeing, I guess synthetic was big in the early 2000s when like Keeneland had a full synthetic track, and like Hollywood Park, I think, did too, and maybe
Yeah.
Santa Anita. So it's interesting to kind of see it swing back here. I guess it's funny too because now I was thinking about it, like, if you have a good dirt horse come this winter, you really have to send it to Oaklawn if you want to run for any money, because like I mean New York's gone, it's all synthetic. Kentucky obviously you're at Turfway. Like, there's really not too many. I mean, go to Fairgrounds. The money at Fairgrounds isn't the best. Or Gulfstream too. I mean, the money down there is so-so. The championship meet's pretty good, but it's gonna be interesting to
Yeah.
see. It's gonna be interesting to see how like the true blue New York horsemen handle the shift to synthetic there.
Yes, definitely. That's the only thing that has me worried because I feel like, you know, if let's say as an owner, you guys have a horse that run in the synthetic and completely hates it, what are you gonna do with it, you know?
Yeah,
You're
because
you're
that
not
does
gonna keep him here. Yeah, you're not gonna keep him here and keep, you know, spending money monthly when you're not gonna keep running on on a surface that he doesn't like. So it gives you like no option. It gives you no options.
you're probably just shipping to like freaking like I guess Penn National, or maybe Parks runs year round, or
Yes,
like, because
that's
that's
yeah,
interesting. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, obviously Monmouth's kind of struggling. We're going to Monmouth on like Friday, and like, dude, they've got I think it's like six total races, and they have like 39 total horses entered. So it's like, part of me is thinking like, if I was Monmouth, like, would you consider? Obviously, you're on the Jersey Shore, so I'm not sure the track is winterized, but even in the fall, like if you push your meet back a month or two, so come like September, October, you're still running on the dirt. Like, I think it's something Monmouth has to consider.
yeah, they have to. But I
It's
don't know
interesting.
if their dirt is treated.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, and that's the
Yeah, I
interesting
kind of
part
doubt it because
too.
they never run in the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, like when they like when they say like aqueducts like dirt is like treated for the winter, quote unquote. Like, I don't even know what that means. I need to get like one of the track maintenance guys on here and really like break that
Yeah,
down
you
because
gotta get because I don't know
hilarious.
about that neither. They say it's not treated, it's no chemicals for the winter or whatever. I guess it gets frozen. Like like in Oakland, those days that are really cold and they had to cancel racing over there. It's because their track is not treated because it's close to the hot springs and all that, so
Yep.
they can't put any kind of chemicals into the land. So that's what happens if the track's not treated. It just gets frozen,
Yeah.
just gets chunks of ice in there.
Super duper interesting. It's wild. It's a wild world. But
Yeah.
another thing I wanted to bring up, I'm not sure if I guess it's okay because you're all right, but I wanted to show this picture because this is probably one of the most like crazy pictures I've ever seen in racing, almost ever. And the fact that you were just
Oh,
got up and you were fine is crazy, but
yeah.
take me through what's going through your head here.
Oh my goodness. That was crazy. That was crazy. The craziest thing is that I had time to think while I'm in the air. I'm like, well, how I'm gonna land, I'm like, thankfully there's no horses behind me, so but I didn't realize that once I landed and I kind of like landed good, I felt that my landing was good. I'm rolling and I see my horse just coming straight to me and ran right over me, and that's where he cut me right here in the head. So then I got up and I felt like I was bleeding and I'm like, oh no. But thankfully and once I was in the floor, I moved everything and I felt I was all right. And like I said, I felt it that when I landed good. I landed like kind of like I rolled right before I hit the ground, and it was crazy. And I didn't realize how high it was until everyone was like, "What in the world was that?" And then I saw the pictures and videos. I was like, "Whoa, that was pretty insane."
Crazy. I mean, like it's all time like big air. If it was X Games, like you'd be setting records for big air there. That was
Yeah.
insane. And I guess like
No, it's crazy.
it's it just goes to show you like I mean how like dangerous the profession is. I know you've gone through some injuries yourself. Take us through kind of some of that like the mental challenge of getting hurt or getting thrown and then having to get back up on a horse, whether it's the next day or coming back from injury, and the mental side of having to get back into it.
Uh, well, you definitely have to be mentally prepared for this. It's like I tell everyone, it's like if you own a motorcycle, you gotta be mentally prepared that at one point you're gonna have an accident. Tell me a person that's riding a motorcycle has never had an accident. Tell me someone, if you drive a car, at one point you're gonna have an accident. So you gotta accept to yourself, like, hey, I ride horses. At some point, something's gonna happen, and if something happens, I'm gonna get back in the horse and I'm gonna keep rolling. You're committed to it. I feel like you're just committed to it, and there's no you're just not scared of the danger anymore. You just go for it.
It's crazy. He's so much respect. That's why, like, I'll never, whenever like we get a quote unquote bad ride, I'll never talk shit because I'll never be man enough to fucking race ride because
Yeah,
man, it's hard.
yeah, definitely hard. It's a lot. It's a lot involved into a race. Sometimes when bad rides happen like that, it's not like no one's not trying to win because if we don't win, we don't get paid. So
Yeah.
we're all trying to win, but we're all there trying to win too. So sometimes things happen so quick that you don't even have time to think. It's like, for example, in that accident, like there's nothing to think. Once I'm in the air, I get like less than a second to think how I'm gonna go down, and that's it. It's like it happens. It's not like whenever you make a decision, it's happening. Something's gonna happen, whether you made the right decision or the wrong decision. It's not like you got time to think and then are like, let me wait another second, another 2 seconds to think. No, it's like so quick that it's like either something's gonna happen or not happen. So if you
Yeah.
go for a hole or you're stuck behind a horse and you're like, all right, I'm gonna stay behind this horse because this horse is gonna open up the space for me, and all of a sudden it just doesn't open the space for you, what can you do? It is what it is. You made the wrong decision and you gotta stick
Yeah. It's funny. I met this guy, he's in college actually. He drives race cars and it's funny. We've done some like film breakdowns of like his onboard footage of him racing, and It is very interesting, like the parallels between horse racing and like motorsport, like race car racing, in terms of he is very similar sentiments, very similar thoughts when he talks about his races in terms of okay, like everything kind of happens fast. You're kind of reacting based upon like gut decision in the moment. And like it's funny that the parallels from like jockey and race car driver, like all the way up in terms of like the way that like the money is structured with like ownerships groups and like sponsors and agents, and like it's funny kind of how racing is very similar there. And it's I think horse racing probably could learn a few things in terms of how to market itself by like looking at
Absolutely.
have you ever like met anybody that like races cars?
No, not yet. I'd love
I
to.
have to
You got it.
I have to introduce you to Justin because it'd be funny to kind of see how your guys' mentality is similar, because it's I mean obviously
Yeah.
it's a high risk profession that you really like those split second decisions are what makes or breaks like winning a race, whether you're on a
Yeah.
horse or behind the wheel. So I think she's Justin.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
No, absolutely. That'll be cool.
But yeah, to that point, like I always ask like this question too, and like before we get into rapid fire questions and wrap things up here. Um, if you had a magic wand and could change anything about horse racing as a sport in general to make it better for the next generation, what would you change?
That's a good question. Hmm.
You have like unlimited money, unlimited like everyone's gonna agree with the decision and get on board. Like it's quote unquote like everyone's gonna agree you have unlimited money.
Make a decision to change horse racing. I think more marketing, more marketing. And you can see the difference of that last weekend at Aqueduct, how packed that place was and how, but I think sometimes I think it's limited with the money for the marketing you could do. Like I feel like we don't have like marketing, like let's say for example on ESPN and stuff like that, Like I don't think there's enough marketing. We have limited days on NBC. I think those NBC Peacock shows are amazing. I think, and I actually like, the things that Fox Sports doing right now. I think it's a really good, show they're doing. So like marketing of horse racing definitely that'll be the big difference.
Yeah. It's an interesting problem to solve because I feel like it's almost similar like the MLB, where the MLB is it's such a long season. Like horse racing is so many racing days, where it's like the big playoff games, like the big Triple Crown days, like those kind of sell
Mhm.
themselves, and they get some market, they
Yeah.
get some play. But I do wish there was stuff like I do like Sunday Night Baseball. Like I wish there was a little bit more in terms of like Churchill does like Downs After Dark. I wish like that would be like televised, because
Yeah.
to me it's like what else like with the World Cup this year, besides that, like there's really not much going on in terms of like the sports world right now, where it's like okay, like they'll do like Downs After Dark in June, again September they'll do it too. Like I think there needs to be like it's a very exciting like product for television, horse racing, in terms of like it's very TV made, because it's like you have the time, the post times to get your commercials in, then you have your action, and obviously like everyone now is betting on their phone, so it's like kind of goes hand in hand. I think it's just about
Yes.
like educating people and getting them to understand the sport a little bit more. So I think that's like there's so many like misconceptions about horse racing. It's kind of wild.
Yes, no, definitely. But yeah, I feel like if it's more marketed out there and more information given out there, I think, definitely it could explode into a whole nother level. It's like I feel like some other sports that I'm like, how in the world is that sport on ESPN? They're showing this and they never show horse racing on
They're
ESPN.
like
It's
bass
like
fishing and
crazy.
cornhole, and then like horse racing is
Yeah,
nothing.
that's what I'm saying. You're watching cornhole on ESPN, and I'm like, what is this? Where are we? Are we supposed to be somewhere in there at least one? I don't know, once, like you say, like at least once a week or something. Some kind of big races somewhere. At least one day of Saratoga, big day. Once a week of Saratoga right now on ESPN or something like that is not out there. And I think marketing is definitely the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too is it's not just the marketing of like the actual sport itself and like obviously the gambling product. I think like Fox and NBC do a good job of like highlighting other parts of it.
Oh
But I
yeah,
think
I
I
love
think
it. I love the
I think
Fox and NBC.
I think the personalities in horse racing aren't highlighted enough. Where it's like, I feel like the NFL, like people buy into the human aspect just as much as the actual sport itself. I mean, you kind of see it now, and it's kind of made fun of with the whole like all the new Chiefs fans because of the Taylor Swift fans, but people buy into stories about the human connections, and I feel like within horse racing, there's not enough that like there used to be like that show like Jockeys on TV a long time ago, but they do like that Drive to Survive for F1. And I feel like something like that applied to jockeys or, you know, trainers or making the human side of things, like giving people a little bit more context in terms of the personalities behind the scene. I think that would naturally bring more people in because, like, you think about it, like if I'm watching an NFL game, like I know who the Clemson guys are, and I naturally root for them. Where I feel like you don't really hear about that in horse racing, where it's like, all right, like I know like the kid in LaRose who took over for Tom Amis, like he went to the same college as my brother, and like I feel like something like that kind of needs to be, you know, marketed where it's like, okay, like he's going to be at Saratoga, I'm sure. Like he went to college in Connecticut, played basketball there actually. Like that, like kind of needs to be marketed in terms of like the connections behind the horses. It's not obviously like the understanding the form and informing people about, you know, who's going to win the race is very important because obviously the gambling product trumps all. But the human connection, I feel like the common $2 better is more likely just to pick based upon name or jockey. So giving him a little bit more information in terms of like casual things like that, like, oh, where this person grow up or where this person go to school or, you
Yeah.
know, some of the other like more like non-racing stuff needs to be marketed as well.
And that's what I love when NBC does the shows and Fox Sports doing a really good job and all that. But that's what I love about when you're watching like those big days on NBC because they give you a lot of information, not just about the race, but about the connections behind and the history behind the jockeys, the owners, or the trainers, and which is really cool. And I feel like we need more of that. We definitely need more of that. We don't. We only have it like Breeders' Cup, Derby, Preakness, and Belmont, and probably a couple more days around, and that's it. You know, let's say a max of 10 days of the whole year we have that kind of info, and it's just in order for people to watch it, it needs to be repetitive, and it needs to, I don't know, at least one time a week or something.
Yes. I agree 100%. Like you kind of need the familiarity in order to like build the stories up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, any other ideas before we get into rapid fire questions here?
No, I think cover it all up.
All right, let's get into some rapid fire questions then. They're all supposed to be either like one word or like one sentence answers. Just kind of first thing that pops in
Oh,
your brain.
jeez. I'm
All
terrible
right,
with this rapid fires.
clock starts now. Clock starts now. Okay, favorite racetrack.
Gulfstream Park. No.
Fair. All right, favorite
Can't say anything else about that, you know? It's like my whole career there.
home track for sure. Home cooking, homer pick.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, favorite horse of all time.
Sharp Azteca.
All right, favorite big race day. So Derby
Wait,
Day,
well,
Belmont Day.
favorite horse that I've ridden.
Okay, fair.
Favorite horse that I ridden. If it's not favorite horse that I haven't ridden, my favorite horse of all time is Zenyatta.
Okay, fair.
All
Okay,
right.
the next one is um if you had a walk-up song for like yourself as you're like as your horse is getting onto the track every single race, what would that like walk-up song be?
I don't know. I had different. Not long ago, they asked me for this question. I said chicken fry. I'm like, it doesn't go. I need to. I think I'd be like with every time with Heather. She does that. All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
I like that one. That
So
one's
I
good.
might be one of those. Yeah, either chicken
That's
fry or
what
that.
that's what Clemson plays after they win every home game. So I
Yeah.
like that song.
So yeah, Cal. Yeah.
All right, last two like could be race related, could be non-racing related. Um, when you hear the word successful, who is the first person you think of?
John Velasquez as a
Okay,
jockey.
very
Yeah.
good. And then last one is If you had to give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Work hard and consistency.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us here, Edgar. This was a shit ton of fun. We'll have to do it again soon. I'm excited to get back to Saratoga, and it'd be great to see you there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. When you come, let us know.
For
Thank you
sure.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
Awesome. Thank you.